In January of last year, the federal government quietly deposited thousands of dollars into the bank accounts of retired teachers, firefighters, and police officers across this country, with no phone call, no warning, and in many cases, no explanation at all. That money was real, it was owed to them, and it came from the largest change to Social Security in decades. But here is what keeps me up at night. Millions of people who are entitled to that same money right now in 2026 still have not received a single dollar of it. And most of them have absolutely no idea this law even exists. My name is Mark Calloway. I spent over a decade inside the financial system watching seniors get shortchanged, not by bad luck, but by rules nobody explained to them. And what happened with this law is one of the most important stories I have covered on this channel. So if you spent any part of your career as a teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, a nurse, a postal worker, a government employee, or if you are married to someone who did, or if you are a widow or widower of someone who did, I need you to watch this entire video before you do anything else today, because there is a very real chance you are sitting on money the government already owes you. Let me start at the beginning. For over 40 years, two provisions buried inside the Social Security rulebook quietly cut the benefits of millions of Americans who worked in public service. The first was called the windfall elimination provision. The second was called the government pension offset. Most people had never heard of either one. But if you were affected by them, you felt them every single month in your check. Here is how they worked. If you spent your career in a job that had its own pension system, a state teacher's pension, a firefighter's retirement fund, a federal civil service pension, and that job did not pay into Social Security, these two provisions punished you for it. The windfall elimination provision reduced your own Social Security retirement benefit. The government pension offset went even further. It reduced, or in many cases completely eliminated, the spousal or survivor benefits you were entitled to through your husband or wife's work record. Think about what that means in real terms. A retired teacher in California who spent 30 years in the classroom, who also worked summers and part-time jobs where she paid into Social Security her entire adult life, her Social Security benefit was reduced by the windfall elimination provision simply because she also had a teacher's pension. And so, on average, that reduction was $350 every single month. Not once, every month, for the rest of her life. And for surviving spouses, it was even worse. The government pension offset reduced spousal and survivor benefits by 2/3 of the pension amount. For hundreds of thousands of widows and widowers, that math wiped out their entire survivor benefit. $0. A woman who lost her husband, a retired firefighter, and was entitled to his Social Security survivor benefit received nothing because of the government pension offset. Nothing. 2.8 million Americans were living with these reductions every month. And for decades, advocates fought to change it. For decades, Congress did nothing until January 5th, 2025. On that date, President Biden signed the Social Security Fairness Act into law. With overwhelming bipartisan support, this passed both the House and the Senate with votes from both parties. Congress permanently repealed both the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. Gone, permanently. And the law was made retroactive to January of 2024, meaning every dollar that was wrongfully reduced going back to January of last year was owed back to the people it was taken from. The Social Security Administration moved quickly. By July of 2025, they had completed sending over $17 billion in retroactive lump sum payments to 3.1 million beneficiaries, 5 months ahead of their own projected schedule. The average retroactive payment was $6,710, and monthly benefits for affected retirees increased going forward as well. The average monthly increase for retired workers was $360 per month. For surviving spouses, the average monthly increase was $1,190 per month. Let me say that again. $1,190 per month for surviving spouses whose benefits had been wiped out by the government pension offset. So if the Social Security Administration has already paid 3.1 million people. Why am I telling you about this in 2026? Because not everyone has been made whole. Not even close. Here is the problem. Some eligible people, particularly new applicants who had not yet filed for benefits, were only given retroactive payments going back 6 months instead of the full 12 months back to January 2024 that the law clearly provides for. Senators Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, John Cornyn, and John Fetterman sent a formal letter to the Social Security Administration demanding they fix this. The president and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare said the law that was passed is absolutely clear. The law says it is 12 months, not 6. 12. And there is a second group that is even more at risk, surviving spouses, widows and widowers whose own benefits had been zeroed out by the government pension offset for years, who never formally filed for Social Security because they were told there was no point, because the offset would eliminate everything anyway. Those people were not in the Social Security Administration's system as active beneficiaries. The automated payment process could not find them. And many of them have still received nothing. If your late husband or wife worked in a government job with a pension and you were told years ago that you did not qualify for survivor benefits, I need you to hear this clearly. That answer may have been based on rules that no longer exist. The government pension offset is gone. You may now be entitled to benefits you were denied for years. And the only way to find out is to contact the Social Security Administration directly and file or reopen your claim. Now, let me tell you exactly what to do, whether you think this affects you or not. Because one of the most important things I have learned after years in this field is that people are often affected by rules they never knew applied to them. Step 1. Log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. If you do not have one, create one. It takes about 10 minutes. Once you are in, look at your current monthly benefit amount. Then think back or look at old bank statements and check what your benefit was before February of 2025. If your benefit went up between February and April of 2025, you were likely processed correctly. If your benefit has not changed at all and you spent any part of your career in a government or public sector job, that is a red flag. Step 2, think carefully about your work history. This law applies to you if you worked in any job that had its own pension system and did not pay into Social Security. That includes teachers in states like California, Texas, Ohio, and Louisiana. It includes most firefighters and police officers. It includes federal employees covered by the old civil service retirement system, not FERS, the newer system, but the civil service retirement system. It includes certain nurses, school cafeteria workers, bus drivers, sheriff's deputies, and many other state and local government employees. Step 3, check your direct deposit and mailing address on file with the Social Security Administration. The retroactive payments were sent to whatever bank account the SSA had on file. If you changed banks, moved, or have not updated your information with Social Security in years, your payment may have gone somewhere it should not have, or a notice may have been sent to an old address. Step 4, if you are a surviving spouse who was previously denied benefits due to the government pension offset, or if you were simply never told you might qualify, call the Social Security Administration directly. The number is 1-800-772-1213. Tell them you are calling about the Social Security Fairness Act and you want to know if you are eligible for adjusted or retroactive benefits under the repeal of the government pension offset. Write that down. Use those exact words. Step 5, be aware of the tax situation. If you received a retroactive lump sum payment in 2025, that payment counts as taxable income for the year you received it. For some people, a sudden $6,000 deposit significantly increased their taxable income for 2025, which they may not have planned for. There is a provision in the tax code called the lump sum election that allows you to allocate that income back to the years it should have been received, which can reduce your tax liability. Talk to a tax professional about whether this applies to your situation before you file. Now, I want to take a moment to explain why this matters beyond just the money. These were not loopholes. These were not obscure technicalities that nobody knew about. 2.8 million Americans people who spent their careers teaching children, putting out fires, keeping streets safe, had their Social Security benefits reduced for over 40 years by provisions that were widely considered unfair even when they were first written. Advocates fought to repeal them for decades. And when Congress finally acted, the implementation was so complex and the Social Security Administration so understaffed, operating under a hiring freeze with staffing below 2023 levels, that even now, in 2026, some of the people most entitled to this money still have not received it. This is exactly why I built this channel, not to scare you, not to make you angry for the sake of it, but because the financial system is genuinely complicated, the government does not always communicate clearly, and the people who get hurt are almost always the ones who did not know what to ask. So let me leave you with this. If you spent any part of your career in public service, or if your spouse did, take 15 minutes today, log into your Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Look at your benefit. Think about your work history. And if something does not look right, or if you were ever told you did not qualify for benefits because of a government pension, call 1-800-772-1213. $17 billion has already been paid out. The question is whether every dollar that belongs to you has reached you. If you found this video helpful, please share it with anyone you know who spent time working in public service, a retired teacher, a former firefighter, a widow of a police officer. They may not know about this, and knowing could change their financial situation significantly. I will see you in the next video.